Most corporate executives think the problem is the big stuff. Client dinners, vacations, weekends, away, all these things. The real drag, okay? It happens in the normal business as usual moments for you. These are the ones that you're ignoring. My name is Brian Pannuzzo. I help successful professionals build an elite body and mind without sacrificing work or time with their family. I know your life because I lived it for 20 years. Welcome back to the show. This is the Success Lift Podcast. I'm your host, Brian. Thank you for being back with me again. I want to get the credit nerds, I want to get the Wall Street guys excited this week. For those of you who listen to the show, I know there's a reasonable amount of you because about 70% of my clients are financial professionals. Many of them will understand this topic, quite frankly, more than I will because they're smarter than me. They're also still doing it on a daily basis, and I'm not. But this concept of leverage that I think most people understand the concept of leverage, but within the context of a corporate restructuring, so in the distressed world, in a bankruptcy, in a corporate restructuring, there is something called the Fulcrum security. And the Fulcrum is the place that everybody tries to kind of figure out in the capital structure, which is where people decide where the value of the new company as the organization restructures will ultimately shake out and find what we would call, I guess, like the tipping point, the leverage point between all of the securities. So I don't know how rudimentary I want to get here because we're going to uncover my intelligence level. But there is typically equity in a company and there's debt in a company. And if you need more of an explanation, I would encourage you to go to ChatGPT. We're just going to keep it at that for right now, okay? And so usually in a restructuring, in a bankruptcy, the equity gets wiped out. And typically it's a security class of the debt capital structure that ultimately the value of the new company breaks. What does that mean? Well, there is likely some very senior secured loans that banks might issue, and those will usually recover at least meaningful value. But as you get further down the line in security, so if you want to get rudimentary with this, think about credit card debt versus your mortgage. All right, the bank is going to get your home before the credit card company is going to get your personal assets. It's usually a senior claim. And so the further we go down the capital structure, the more, or I guess the less likely that those securities are likely to recover the full value when they were issued. And what investors do in the new reorganized company is try to figure out what they would call the Fulcrum security. The Fulcrum security is important is because it's typically the point in the capital structure that is has the most upside, has the most leverage associated with it. So if you're going to buy something that you're going to get a big return from, you're going to try to find the Fulcrum, okay? And they usually have a decent amount of leverage, and it's usually where you capture the most upside in the new company, all right? Why am I talking about Fulcrum securities in this instance? Well, I work predominantly with financial professionals. Not all of my clients, but most of them are. In fact, 37 of my 55 currently one-on-one clients are financial professionals. Those are spread amongst wealth management. Those are spread amongst investment banking, traders, research analysts, portfolio managers, independent investment managers, your traditional wirehouse financial advisors, wealth management guys, you name it, risk management guys, you name it. I work with them, okay? I was a financial professional, as I say in the intro, for 20 years. I was started my career as in Merrill Lynch's wealth management training program as a financial advisor and moved over to what we would call the institutional side of the business 3 years later and started and ultimately ended up being a high yield trader, high yield bond trader. For those of you who don't even know what high yield is, think junk bonds, bonds that may not pay you back your full investment, that pay you higher rates of interest. And if we have to explain any more than that, you may not be my ideal client. So let's move on from there. But that's what I did for the last 17 years or so of my career. And so I still speak the vernacular of the financial professional. And so when I want to talk about leveraging your week and getting the most out of it and squeezing the most juice, I don't say squeeze the most juice. I use terms like leverage. I use terms like the fulcrum, because that ticks off in a series of thought processes in my clients' heads that they can relate to. And most importantly for you, if you are looking for someone to help you in your life, you should 1000% find someone like you who has done what you are trying to accomplish or in the process of and is further down the road. So that's why I am very particular about the language that I use. We talk a lot about auditing. We talk a lot about compound interest. We talk about inflation. We talk about these terms that are so familiar to my client because I want them to be able to associate with it. If you can associate with what I'm trying to get you to do for maybe something outside the office with what you do on a daily basis inside the office, right? You're going to be more willing to do it. You're going to understand it more. Education equals compliance is something I was taught very early in this new life of mine. If I can educate you, which hopefully this podcast does, and other forms of my content do, if I can educate you, you can do it on your own, because my coaching is all virtual. Now I see my clients one-on-one as much as possible. I have local clients in the Los Angeles area, but half of my client roster, maybe even a little bit more, is in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Long Island, Philadelphia. I have clients in Seattle. I have a client in Alaska. I have clients in the suburbs of Chicago. I have clients in Florida. I have clients in St. Louis. I have clients all over the country. I have 2 clients in London. We're not with them on a minute-by-minute basis. Neither is your trainer that you go to at the gym. You go see your trainer for 3 to 4 hours a week at most. There are 23 other hours in those days. There are 24 in the days that you don't see your trainer. You speak to your therapist 1 hour once a week. You talk to a marriage counselor 1 hour once a week. So you need to learn how to do this stuff on your own. Because the mistake I see that a lot of programs make is they hand you this list of things to do. And yes, that list of things do work when conditions are perfect, I would add. Big asterisk, huge asterisk, when conditions are perfect. Weigh out your 6 ounces of chicken in your meal plan, put it in your Tupperware container, put some lettuce in there, and bring it to the office. Who the F on my client roster does that? Not one. All right? And so you need to be able to have the skills to look at a menu in a restaurant and go, what can I do? How can I minimize the damage? How can I stay on track as much as possible? Or know that I'm not going to be able to stay on track that much, or maybe I don't want to stay on track that much. So I'm therefore going to earn it out a little bit leading into the event and then coming out. And so maybe we have some lower calorie days heading in. Our calories spike one day intentionally, and then we have some lower calorie days coming out. And if we can educate you on how to do this, you can live the rest of your life. You should not be in a program like mine forever. You should be in it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years maybe. I have clients on their 3rd year because they enjoy the accountability, the customization, the structure that's provided for them, and it's worth the investment for them. But they're not going to be with me forever. And so if you're doing something that just tells you what to do day by day, week by week, but you don't actually learn how to do it on your own, or learn how to do it when conditions are not absolutely perfect, you're just going to get what you've gotten in the past, which is 2 months of results, 6 months without, 1 month of results, 4 months without, and this yo-yo roller coaster that everybody goes on. I get off my tangent now. That's why I talk in financial concepts to this podcast, on my email list on a daily basis, in my Instagram and LinkedIn content, and most importantly, to my clients. And so let's get back to the fulcrum and leverage, all right? Again, just to review, the fulcrum in distressed investing, in restructuring, it's the asset class that holds the most leverage, all right? In determining recovery value of the new company. All right. So let's draw a quick parallel. All right. In your life during the week, certain actions and habits carry the most leverage for your results. Now I'm going to tell you where you screw it up, and that's the point of this whole message. All right. The weekly fulcrum points are typically not the ones that you think they are, because we always go to that dinner out that I talked about, or the weekend event that you have, or the 24-hour business trip. All right. Most corporate executives think the problem is the big stuff. Client dinners, vacations, weekends, away, all these things. The real drag, okay, it happens in the normal business as usual moments for you. These are the ones that you're ignoring. Not the date night on Friday night, not the steakhouse on Wednesday for a client dinner. I mean, yes, those things can add up and wreck your progress if you don't know how to handle them. But in my experience, the real fulcrum moments, and it's not just one, like there's one fulcrum security. The multiple fulcrum moments of your week are the Tuesdays, the Wednesdays, the Mondays, the Friday for 6 hours before the big thing, the getting back to it on Saturday morning before the next thing on Saturday afternoon. These are the fulcrum moments of your week. These are the moments that you are not executing nearly well enough. I've talked a lot about recently in like some of my Instagram content about 80-20. Let me quickly let you in on a little secret as part of my podcast, Inner Circle. You probably need to be more like 90-10 to get really great results. But if we're talking to the general public, 80-20 is a pretty good place to start for most people. So I've been talking about, most people worry about the 20, but you're screwing up the 80. And if you just handled the 80, you wouldn't have to worry so much about the 20. And I'm usually showing a picture of me stuffing my face with some cake or something like that. All right? I love cake. Have your cake and eat it too. Why wouldn't you? It's the stupidest saying ever. Why wouldn't you want to eat cake? All right? So let's just get that out of the way quickly, let you under the hood. It's probably more like 90-10 for elite results, but let's just say 80-20. Most people are focused on the 20. Oftentimes the 20 is at least a large portion outside of our control. Maybe it's restaurant cooking, calories will be elevated, no doubt. Maybe it's travel, you're not in full control, you're outside of your routine. You don't have a gym to go to, you have all day meetings, you got to get on a plane, you're in a car, you're on a sports field for the entire weekend. We are outside the bubble, as we like to say. We talked about this recently in a podcast, probably a month or two ago. Being inside the bubble, outside the bubble. Actually, now that I think about it, it was probably like early August because I noticed this trend with my clients. The summertime was really getting busy for them. And we talked about this theme of inside the bubble versus outside the bubble. Most people focus their attention on the outside the bubble moments. And while they do need some attention, care, and planning, and we do that every single week, one-on-one between us in my program, what most people miss is the fulcrum moments, the moments that provide the leverage that allow you the flexibility to do some of the things a little bit more carefree. I don't want to say completely carefree because you can absolutely wreck 5 or 6 days of progress in 1 or 2 days. You absolutely can. I'm capable of it. So are you. All right. But most of the time, it's the moments around those 5 or 6 days that we're not executing. So let's talk about what some theoretical fulcrum points could be in your week. Now, I want to make a huge caveat by saying, I don't know you. Well, I may know you, but I don't know your routines. I don't know your daily schedule. I don't know what you've been doing. I don't know what you're doing on a weekly basis. We're not having a consistent connection and conversation. These are all things that are happening inside of my program, which allow me to give very specific advice to a client. So we're going to generalize this. And massive coach caveat that it ain't my fault if it don't work because I don't know exactly what you're doing. All right. It's a little CYA. It's another financial term. CYA, cover your ass. All right. Know your customer, cover your ass. Okay. We want to identify what moves the needle. All right. A lot of times what moves the needle for executives like yourself is the first 90 minutes of your day. Brian, you don't understand. I get up and I go commute. Okay, fine. So maybe it's the first 30 minutes of your day, but it's the initial portion of your day that you can control when no one is looking for you. How do you control that better? Last 30 minutes, last 60 minutes, last 90 minutes of your day. If you're not controlling that, good luck on your first 30, 60, or 90 minutes of your day. All right. It's probably consistent movement and strength training or workouts, if you want to call it that. All right. Do you know when you're going to the gym this week? Not everybody can answer that question. Most people would say, I'm going to try to get to the gym Tuesday after work, and then I hope to be able to get one in on Thursday. And then we start talking and I find out that you have a dinner on Wednesday night, which is going to dramatically reduce the probability of you going Thursday. So why would you try to or hope to? Why wouldn't you just schedule it for Friday morning maybe? Or a lot of people are out on Thursday nights in the financial services industry. So why would you schedule something on Thursday? Again, you get the point here with me flip-flopping all over the place. We got to look at what's going on in your schedule. And then we have to appropriately allocate and schedule you. That is a huge foundational component of my program, scheduling you on a weekly basis. We do it every single week. I'm pounding my desk because it's very important. We do it every single week in my program. Part of their accountability and check-in process with me each weekend is to map out their week. And I want to know when they're going to do certain things. And if it's unclear, I am very clear that I want to know. So we end up figuring that out together. Now, okay, it's okay if your week is undetermined on the back half. So I like to use sort of the visual analogy of if it's Sunday, Monday's got to be in like Sharpie, like permanent Sharpie. Tuesday is probably like a mix of Sharpie and mostly dark pen, because you should probably have your calendar firmed up a bit about 48 hours out. I get it. There's special circumstances. Don't come at me with all the little ones and twosies. Totally understand. Wednesday might be like pen/pencil. Kind of understand that, right? Now, some things might be firm. Some appointments might be firm. Some meetings, you got to travel. You have that client dinner. You have that conference. That stuff could be firm, but like not everything. Totally understand. As we get to Thursday and Friday, it starts to get a little bit less clear, a little bit more pencil in there. This is where we need to be constantly firming up our schedule on a daily basis. So we macro schedule on Sunday. We put ourselves into the calendar Thursday. Now we have some flexibility and some understanding that might need to move around, right? But we firm that up on Tuesday or Wednesday. And so we're consistently coming in for 5 minutes or so, that's all this takes, and looking at where did I have myself scheduled for tomorrow and the next day? Is it still good? Great, done, we're in, let's do it. Does it need to be changed? It might. Okay, let's do it now, where we still have some visibility. We don't wait until 4:15 on Thursday to figure out if we're going to the gym at 5. Like the answer is always no, like every single time. Every single time. So we macro schedule, financial concepts, macro schedule on Sunday. We micro schedule every 28 to 48 hours. And we come back in and we do it over and over and over again. Brian, that sounds like a lot. You do it over and over and over again. Yeah, so is your life. Your life is the same series of actions over and over and over again. And this stuff starts to become completely intuitive, unconsciously competent is what we like to say, where you're able to just kind of figure it out. I now can just micro schedule sometimes without even looking at my schedule or without even writing stuff down and recommitting. All right. You got to control the upside in your life. Your schedule is a massive fulcrum point. Massive. Massive. And you got to be in it. You got to be in it because everybody has a schedule, but you got to be in it. Okay? You got to own your key leverage points so that you can control your energy, your clarity, your discipline, all of these things. If you're not in control of those leverage points, the rest of the week's going to fall apart because the rest of the week can be highly variable. We're talking about the moments that you really can control, right? You can absorb all of this volatility, more financial concepts. I mean, it's just coming to me as we go. You can absorb the vol in your week when you have the cushion with the other moments that you control, all right? When you have a late night, when you have to travel, without the fulcrum point, without that leverage, you're just reacting all week. All week. So how do you do this? Well, you go back to one of those financial concepts. You have to audit. Where are you being most consistent versus being reactive? Get honest. You know who can help you be honest? Somebody who isn't you. Because you know who's going to be the most defensive, going to be the most flexible with your bullshit? You. Me. With me. You know who I do this with? Somebody that's not me. Right? Because I'm going to constantly give myself an excuse. I'm going to negotiate. So that's why I have help with my life, coaching in my life. Training is one thing that I would just kind of wing it when I go into the gym, because I'm in good shape and I could just kind of go in and go through the motions. Do you know what that gets me? Kind of shitty results. So you know what I do? I pay somebody a pretty good amount of money who's really, really good. You know what that makes me want to do? Do what the hell he says. Because when he checks in, I got to give him an update, or I got to give him an update before he checks in, because he don't want to check in on me. He wants me to check in with him. So if you find yourself just going through motions throughout the week, that's where you need to identify and unlock some leverage. All right? Pick one or two areas. Pick one or two. What's going to create the highest leverage for you this week? I ask people after calls or on my custom feedback of their check-in process. So what happens is they check in via a form that I create for them. They map out their commitments for the week. They audit their commitments from last week. They start to prepare for the curveballs and the bullshit that's coming their way. Nobody prepares. We all know there's this gauntlet coming starting on Wednesday, but you don't prepare for it. So we prepare. We start to understand which are going to be our points where we're going to not be as well in control, and others where we're going to actually have to take the reins back and go, no, not this event. This event, I'm going to keep it tight. I give custom feedback. They get that feedback, they implement it into their day. And then they make those things non-negotiable, at least the ones who want the results. We then have to protect that time by making it non-negotiable. And if something comes up, we just got to be honest and then quickly reschedule it as fast as we can. And we do that over and over and over again. So once you audit, you'll get some info. You can then do the next A, which is take some action. All right? And you can continually do this process over and over and over again. But if you are not aware of where your leverage is in your week, you are not going to be able to control it as well. You're not going to be able to handle some of the moments where you're simply not able to exert that leverage. Nobody I work with is showing up to a client dinner with grilled chicken and vegetables in a Tupperware container. Sorry to all my gym bros out there who prep all their food and bring it to work and sit there and eat with a plastic fork out of a Tupperware container, and you're 6% body fat and you look fucking amazing. That lifestyle is not appropriate for the people that I work for. And so you cannot exert leverage in that situation by bringing your grilled chicken and your vegetables. But what can you do? You can use the restaurant ordering guide inside of my program. You can understand that things like shrimp cocktail, crab meat, lobster tails, oysters, think seafood tower for anybody who's been to a New York City steakhouse, right? Seafood, anything on the seafood tower is going to be high protein, low calorie. They're also, you're not going to get made fun of. Like if I order the garden salad, a bunch of the Wall Street bros are going to come off the top rope on me. But if I get the jumbo shrimp cocktail, right, with the horseradish and the cocktail sauce and the lemon, people are probably going, yo, can I get one of those? Right? Then I get the filet. I get the 8-ounce filet. Don't order the petite filet. Even if it says petite filet, you're going to be called a petite human being at the table. So you order the 8-ounce filet and you let the fat you-know-whats order the tomahawk ribeyes, right? If you want a piece of ribeye, take your fork and grab a little bit of ribeye. But we don't need a 1,600 calorie steak. We'll just go for the 700 calorie one. All right. Make sure there's at least some veggies when the sides are ordered. Right. Grab a spoonful of the mac and cheese. Grab a little bit of the cream spinach. You don't need the entire vat. All right. You don't need the onion ring. The onion ring tastes like the onion ring everywhere else. Have a couple glasses of wine. These are how you insert leverage into a moment like that. We learn this in my program. I teach you that so that you can go to the steakhouse and not have me by your side, because you're not going to have me by your side. You're not going to have your trainer by your side. You're not going to have your therapist by your side when you live your life. You have to learn these things so that you can exert your own leverage in your particular situations. When you learn how to do it, life gets pretty good. You get to enjoy the 80 to 90 as much as you can. And the 10 to 20 is like, you can let it go, man. Especially once you get into great shape, you can let it go. I don't ever eat a piece of cake or have a drink that I rarely do something that I regret. And that is a great place to be, because I find that many people that I speak to on a weekly basis experience regret over their actions quite regularly. And I say this because I lived my life for 15 plus years regretting my actions and creating this chaos in my mind and putting myself in this prison of like, I should probably do better. I'm not 100% sure what to do, but it's really fun when I do it. Oh man, I did it again. And I want you to get out of that cycle. And starting to do things like this will get you out of that cycle. If you know another credit nerd, if you know another finance bro, if you know another Wall Street person, or you know somebody who can just plain old benefit from this, because this isn't just for financial professionals, although I did throw a lot of finance vernacular around, please send it to them. If you haven't rated or reviewed the podcast in a while, could you do it? Help your boy out. I appreciate you. Hope you're having a great week. If I can help you in any way, you can text me at 917-709-4283, or you can email me at brian@thesuccesslift.com. I'll see you back here next week.